So I just got back from NAB and I wanted to do something a little different with this video. So rather than covering these crazy expensive cameras or expensive gear that costs hundreds and thousands of dollars, I wanted to find gear that was realistic, gear that I could buy and also recommend to you guys. So this gear, I try to keep it all under $500 just because I feel that price point is pretty fair. And also gear that was underrated, gear that I didn't see much coverage on it. So some of the stuff, I didn't even see videos or any press coverage. So you might have never even heard of this stuff, some of these things, and some of them you probably heard a little bit about it. So again, underrated and under 500. Now, before I begin, I do want to thank B&H Photo for sponsoring my trip to Las Vegas and obviously NAB coverage. They are awesome. They're really great to work with. I'll leave a link down below to B&H Photo. So if you guys are interested in buying any camera gear or accessories, make sure to check them out. Now, the very first product that I came across and I thought was very interesting was actually from AngelBird, and it's actually a card reader. They call it the solid stack card reader. So essentially when you buy a card reader, typically you can buy something like this, where you have like a compact flash, a micro SD, an SD card reader. It's like an all-in-one unit. The problem is that if this fails, they all fail. So you're kind of SOL. Their system's a little different because it's modular. So the idea behind this is that you buy what you need. So for example, I use CFast cards, so I can buy 2 CFast cards if I need it. I can also add a micro SD and SD card. So again, I can add as many as I want because they're all independent from each other. And the best part about it is that if one fails, it doesn't actually screw the whole thing up. You can just literally replace that one unit. It kind of holds by magnetic, and there's also a little locking little mechanism in the back so you can stack these all together. And what I like about it is that you kind of create your own setup. And the best part about it is that they use Thunderbolt 3 USB Type-C, and the actual cable itself is actually recessed in there. So even if it ends up breaking, you can actually replace it. I thought that was pretty neat. Again, I really like this type of design because you get to buy what you need as opposed to something like this where maybe I don't use the micro SD card, which I really don't. So now I'm kind of stuck with it. The second thing that I thought was pretty interesting was from a company called Accsoon, and it's called the CINE. It's a wireless video transmitter. What was neat about this thing was the price point. So a couple months ago, I did a video on the Teradek Surf Pro, which was a $1,500 transmitter. A lot of you guys were freaking out saying it was crazy expensive. Well, I found one that is only $200, which I think is amazing. So if your camera has an HDMI port, because as of right now, it only supports HDMI, you can transmit your video signal up to 1080p, 60 frames per second, wirelessly, and it works very well. The lag is very minimal. You can also use your Android phone, your iPhone, or your iPad, and it actually worked, again, very well. I was actually very impressed, especially because there's a lot of, different types of Wi-Fi signals at the convention. So the fact that it worked this good leads me to believe if you have it in an environment that doesn't have a lot of different types of signals, it's gonna work a lot better. So within the app, there's a lot of pro features that you can enable. For example, you can add false color, you can change the aspect ratio, you can add, for example, zebras, peaking, a lot of different types of configurations, and you can do this independent from each device. So you can have one, for example, the director, which might have a different configuration from the producer. So I thought that was very neat because each person can have its own look per se. So again, you can use an iPhone, an iPad, an Android phone, up to 4 connected devices at the same time, and they don't have to be from the same device, so it could be an iPhone and Android phone. I thought it was very neat, and the price point of $200. There's a couple caveats. You can only use it up to 100 meters, so it's not very long, but in a small studio environment, this could work very well. But in any case, it's a promising device. It's very budget friendly. I thought it was very interesting, so I decided to let you guys know about it. Now for this next product, I really wasn't going to cover this mainly because the category of gimbals is something that is not really interesting to me anymore just because I'm kind of bored with gimbals. But I do feel that this gimbal in particular is very different from what everybody else is doing. So this is the Moza Aircross 2. And for one, the weight size, it is literally half the weight of a Ronin S. So I thought, whoa, that's pretty neat. Now you're gonna say, well, Armando, can it hold the capacity of a Ronin S? And to that, I will say no. However, I do feel that a lot of people that buy a Ronin S are using it for smaller mirrorless cameras, or even something like a little bit more heavier cameras, not something like the C200, but a little bit more like a DSLR. And this will actually hold it without any problems. The other thing I felt that was slightly different from this gimbal compared to others is how you mount the camera. So this doesn't use like the traditional where you kind of slide the camera from forward to back. You actually side load it. So what this allows you to do is use cameras that are a lot wider. For example, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, which is really wide. You can actually use a camera like that. You can use cameras with really heavy lenses because again, the way the mechanism is completely different from what other manufacturers are doing. And it's also a lot easier to balance. And even though they're using a different design, they didn't take away features that you normally would get from these higher end gimbals. So for example, you still have an LCD display, you still have a follow focus, you can still do things that you normally can with these higher end gimbals. And the weight capacity, again, it's half the size of a Ronin S, so it is stupid light. It's actually a lot more comfortable to hold. And another thing, because of this new or this different type of design, you can actually switch or flip the camera vertically, which I thought was interesting. So if you're doing a lot of mobile content, this is actually very neat because you can do this very quickly as opposed to having it only locked to a horizontal position. Another thing, just a small little bonus, they do have this like Stormtrooper color, which I personally like. So I don't know, I feel like if I was to buy a gimbal and I didn't need to hold a lot of weight, like for example, if I wasn't going to use it with my C200, I'd actually pick this one up for all of the reasons I just mentioned. And again, I think price point, they didn't have a price, but they did say it was going to be about $500. So for a gimbal that is this light and also powerful and has all of these features, for 500 bucks, I thought it was worth mentioning just because I feel that all these gimbals like the Ronin S, people are using them with lighter cameras, I feel are unnecessary. So for what it's worth, if I was to pick up a gimbal today, this one would be the one that I would pick. On the other side of the spectrum, we have sliders. So one of the sliders that really caught my attention was from iFootage. They call it I believe the Shark Slider Nano. So it's a very small slider, very compact and portable, which I really like. This is actually one of my favorite sliders. It is from Smarta. I actually already did a video on this. I'll leave a link above or down below if you guys are interested in watching it. But the main difference between the iFootage slider and this one is that you can do a lot more. For example, the iFootage one, the base plate actually moves, so you can create these like really neat parallax effects. It's very small, compact, portable. You can also set an A and B point, so if you're gonna do interview shots, it works really well. It is crazy, I mean crazy silent, and it's very fast too. So you can use this, ramp it up really quickly, and it's, again, very silent, you can't hear it. So if you're doing interviews, it's actually perfect. The other thing I really like about it is that you don't need your smartphone to use it. So a lot of times these sliders require an app or a remote control. The actual control is integrated onto the slider, so it's actually a touchscreen display, and you can do everything within the slider, which is awesome, of course. And the price point, it's not crazy expensive. It still meets that under 500 mark. So you're looking at $499, availability coming later in August. And I do plan to pick one up when it is available. In terms of payload, you're looking at smaller size mirrorless cameras. So I believe like 5-6 pounds max payload. But in any case, I do plan to do a full review when it does come out later this year. Now for this next product, I don't even know the name. I asked the rep, what's the name of this product? And even him himself didn't know. He just got it in, it's a prototype. But if you own a DJI Osmo Pocket, this thing is actually pretty neat. For the sake of this video, I'll call it a DJI Osmo Pocket selfie stick. Cringy, I know I don't want to use that word, but it's kind of like a selfie stick. So what you do is you mount your DJI Osmo Pocket onto this little contraption, and then you can extend it, I don't know, like 4 feet roughly about, and it gives you that extended range. So the neat thing about it is that you can control your DJI Osmo Pocket from the handle, so you do it wirelessly, and it actually works really well. So if you need to get those like crazy shots where you just need that extended range, I feel like this little accessory could come in useful. Or if you want to use it as a selfie stick, which I don't recommend you do, but in any case, I thought it was interesting, and it was just kind of hidden. Nobody really knew about it, and I'm like, what is that over there? And there was just, that's kind of how the conversation started. So if you own an Osmo Pocket, this is an accessory that is coming very soon. I don't know the name, but if I do find out, I'll leave a link down below in the description. Now for this next product, you probably heard of this company called LaCie. They have this very well-known product called the Too Big Dock Thunderbolt 3. It's actually a storage solution, very well-known. Well, now they have something very similar to that, which is called the Too Big RAID. So what impressed me the most is that you can actually edit 8K red raw directly from this storage bay, which I thought was very impressive. So you don't need to dump all of your files into your computer anymore. You can actually just use this attached storage solution, which works really well, especially if you're editing 8K red raw footage. Now it does come in a 4 terabyte, an 8 terabyte, and also a 16 terabyte solution. So you can pick that, or if you need more, you can actually daisy chain them together and stack them. So this is very modular, and the hard drives themselves are hot swappable, which is really neat. Another thing that I really like about it is that it comes in a space gray color, which I like because I like space gray. So if you guys are looking for a storage solution, I thought that was really neat. Or if you want to edit directly, because I know not everybody is looking for a NAS storage solution, something more directly attached to a computer, this actually works really well. In any case, I thought it was worth mentioning, especially because the 8 terabyte solution is under $500, which is pretty neat, I think. So a couple other things that I saw at the show that are worth mentioning, not necessarily underrated. I feel like they did get a lot of press attention, but I think are worth noting, and I feel like they deserve attention, is, for example, the Aputure booth. They had the Aputure MC. So this is like the successor to the Aputure MX. So it's a very small portable light similar to like the M9. It's bicolor and also RGB, but like the killer thing about this light is the price. It's $79, which is impressive. And also it has wireless charging, which I didn't really expect that from a light. And at 100% brightness, you will get 100 minutes of use, which I think is actually very good. And it only takes about 75 minutes to charge. It has this like quick charge method. So 75 minutes if it's 100% dead, and 100 minutes you can use it at 100% brightness, which I've never really used lights like that at 100%. So I'm sure you can get several hours if you kind of keep it at around 20, maybe 30%. So, which is typically what I use it for. But yeah, this little light is definitely worth mentioning. The other thing is over at Blackmagic, they had the battery grip for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Gosh, I always hate saying that. It's like a mouthful. But yeah, they have this little battery grip, which replaces the Canon batteries to the Sony L battery. So now you can extend the life. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they went from Canon batteries to Sony. Like, I get why they went from Canon to Sony because it lasts longer, but now you essentially have to carry 2 types of batteries. I wish they would have initially had Sony batteries to begin with, because now again you have to carry 2 batteries. But in any case, I think it's worth mentioning this grip, because if you own a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, you know that the battery life is not as great as, for example, like a Sony a7 III or like a Canon EOS R. So something like this battery grip will definitely extend the life. However, if you already have, let's say for example, a cage, you won't be able to use it, which is kind of a bummer. So hopefully somebody can make a cage with the battery grip, and I think that would be awesome. But in any case, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If there was something that you guys saw, leave me a comment down below. I'd like to check it out. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.